Welcome back to Decode the Hacks. Today, we are dissecting one of the most sophisticated cyber espionage campaigns in the history, the SolarWinds supply chain attack. In this video, you will learn each step-by-step technical details, how the attackers exploited the SolarWinds. You will learn the inner technical workings of the very famous SUNBURST malware, and how you should build your detections and response playbooks so that you don't become a target of such an attack in future. By the end of this video, you will be able to build a strategic technical plan that will protect you in this unsafe digital world. So let's get started. This wasn't just a simple hack. It was a surgical insertion of malicious code into the very software designed to monitor network health. In 2020, attackers compromised build environment of SolarWinds Orion, affecting roughly 18,000 customers globally. For months, the backdoor known as SUNBURST lay dormant inside digitally signed, legitimate software updates, bypassing traditional defenses. While thousands downloaded the compromised update, the threat actor, identified as Russia's SVR APT-29, selectively targeted a small subset of high-value victims, including at least 9 US federal agencies. Let's map out exactly how this happened. The attack chain began with the compromise of SolarWinds' own build environment. The threat actor inserted the SUNBURST Backdoor directly into a component called SolarWinds.Orion.Core business layer.dll. Crucially, because this happened during the build process, the compromised DLL was digitally signed by SolarWinds. To customers, the update looked perfectly legitimate. Once installed on a victim's network, the malware didn't strike immediately. It lay dormant for 12 to 14 days, a calculated move to evade sandbox analysis. After this warning period, it began beaconing to a command and control server via a subdomain of avsvmcloud.com. This is where the attack bifurcated. For most victims, the beaconing stopped there, but for select high-value targets, the attackers returned to a specific DNS response that activated the backdoor, allowing them to drop second-stage payload like Teardrop and Cobalt Strike for full hands-on keyboard access. Context is crucial here. The attack didn't start when it was discovered. According to GAO reports, the threat actor accessed SolarWinds network as early as September 2019 to perform a dry run, injecting test code to check their access. The actual weaponization occurred between February and May 2020. During this window, the Trojanized updates were compiled, digitally signed, and posted to the SolarWinds download portal. Thousands of customers downloaded these updates through the spring. The breach went undetected until November of 2020, when FireEye discovered the intrusion in their own environment. This led to the public disclosure on December 13, 2020, and CISA immediately issued Emergency Directive 2101. 2 days later, a kill switch was activated by redirecting the malware's domain. Finally, on April 15, 2021, the US government officially attributed the campaign to the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service SVR, also known as APT-29 or Cozy Bear. So let's break down the attack chain, which moves from the supply chain to on-prem networks and finally to the cloud. It starts with SUNSPOT. This highly specialized malware sat on SolarWinds build servers, waiting for the Orion source code. When detected, it silently injected the SUNBURST backdoor into the SolarWinds Orion core business layer DLL before it was compiled and digitally signed. Once installed on a victim's network, SUNBURST didn't beacon immediately. It waited 12 to 14 days to evade sandbox detection. When it woke, it used a DGA domain generation algorithm to contact avsvmcloud.com. If the attackers chose to proceed, a DNS CNAME redirected the traffic to a real command and control. From there, they deployed Teardrop, a memory-only dropper for Cobalt Strike beacon. The critical pivot occurred here. Attackers attackers stole Active Directory credentials and forged SAML tokens, a technique known as golden SAML. This allowed them to bypass multi-factor authentication and access cloud resources like Microsoft 365 to exfiltrate emails. Now let's look under the hood. SUNBURST is sophisticated because it hides in plain sight. It verifies it is running within the legitimate process SolarWinds.business layer host using a custom hash check before executing. To evade sandbox analysis, it employs a randomized 12 to 14 day dormancy period. It literally waits 2 weeks before making a sound. It also checks that the machine is domain joined and not part of a test environment by blocking specific internal SolarWinds domain. For command and control, it uses the DGA to contact subdomains of avsmcloud.com. The IP address returned in the A records dictates the mode: passive, active, or disabled. Traffic masquerades as the legitimate Orion Improvement Program (OIP) protocol. Commands are hidden via steganography inside benign-looking XML data. Crucially, specific IP ranges function as a kill switch, permanently disabling the malware, a feature defenders later use. Let's look at the numbers because nuance is critical here. According to GAO and SolarWinds' own filings, approximately 18,000 customers downloaded the compromised update. However, downloading the update did not automatically equate to a full data breach. The threat actor was highly selective. CISA and Mandiant investigations revealed that the actor actively targeted only a small subset of these networks for follow-up exploitation. The impact was nevertheless severe among those targeted. The victim list spans Fortune 500 tech companies, critical government infrastructures, including at least 9 US federal agencies, such as the Department of Treasury, Commerce, and Energy. As you view this map, remember, presence is not equal to persistence. A DNS beacon to avsvmcloud.com indicates the door was unlocked, but CNAME activation was required for the threat actors to actually walk through it. Now let's move on to detection and response. Detecting this threat required looking beyond just the endpoint malware. First, network defenders needed to hunt for DNS traffic to avsvmcloud.com. But remember, a simple A record lookup might just mean the malware was present. The critical indicator of active exploitation was a CNAME response, which signaled the malware was receiving a command to communicate with a secondary C2 server. Second, because this was fundamentally an identity attack, detection focused on the cloud. CISA warned to look for impossible tokens, SAML tokens with unusual validity periods, or missing MFA claims. Tools like CISA's Sparrow.ps1 became essential for scanning Azure and Microsoft 365 environments for these anomalies. Finally, for remediation, CISA was clear. If your SAML signing certificate was compromised, you couldn't just change passwords. You faced a total identity compromise, requiring a full reconstitution of your identity trust store, essentially rebuilding your digital passport authority from scratch. So, what did SolarWinds teach us? It redefined how we must approach supply chain security and identity hygiene. First, we must secure the build environment. Code signing certificates are not enough if build pipeline itself is compromised. We need verification of the entire CI/CD process. Second, identity is the new perimeter. The pivot from on-prem to cloud via SAML token forgery was the critical escalation point. Organizations must rigorously monitor service principles and federation trusts. Finally, treat network management systems like SolarWinds Orion as high-risk assets. They require strict network segmentation and least privilege. And critically, extend your log retention. With a 14-day dormancy period, standard 30-day logs might not catch the initial beacon. With that, I will wrap up this video. This has been Decode the Hacks. We investigate cyber hacks, breaches, and exploits targeting you right now. If you want to be the first to know, not the last to react, subscribe to Decode the Hacks YouTube channel. Thank you.